You're waking up. The first light of dawn cuts through the dense forest canopy, casting golden streaks across your face. No blaring alarm clock. No honking horns. No blue light from your phone screen or a barrage of work emails. Right now, you are surrounded only by the raw, untamed wilderness. You hear the wind rustling through the leaves and feel the chill of the morning dew on your skin. There is no schedule waiting for you. No place you absolutely have to be, and no one evaluating your performance today. You look up and see an eagle soaring across the vast sky, or a herd of deer casually grazing by a stream. They exist quietly, completely absorbed in the present moment. And then, a thought flashes through your mind. A question that anyone exhausted by the grind of the modern world has probably pondered at least once. Are animals actually living a freer life than humans? On the surface, the answer seems like an absolute yes. Wild animals never have to submit a resume. They don't know what inflation is. A lion doesn't care about the stock market. A sparrow doesn't need a permit to build its nest. They have no laws, no dress codes, and no unspoken social expectations. To them, there is no such thing as a terrible Monday or a weekend that's too short. Modern humans spend about 90,000 hours of their lives working. That's roughly 1/3 of your waking existence, locked into a system someone else created. Meanwhile, wild animals appear to enjoy a pure, unadulterated freedom, untouched and uncontrolled by anyone. But that is just what we want to believe. Let's break that illusion. We constantly project a romanticized beauty onto nature. We think wild animals are swimming in a world of absolute liberty, with no chains and no bosses to flatter. But try putting yourself in the paws of a tiger. Yes, you are the apex predator. You don't have office politics or KPI targets. But, instead, you face a much more brutal pressure, the minute-by-minute pressure to survive. You don't go to work in the morning, but you must hunt. And nature doesn't pay a fixed salary. If you miss your prey, you starve. If you sprain an ankle or break a claw, it's not an accident that requires sick leave. It's a death sentence. When a drought dries up the rivers, or a wildfire sweeps through, you can't call 911. It looks like boundless freedom. But animals are bound by the invisible chains of survival. A ruthless law with zero clemency. The truth is, animals aren't free at all. They just serve a different master named biology. Let's look deeper at the basics, territory and the need to survive. Every animal is confined to a specific ecosystem. Imagine being trapped in the body of a polar bear. Your space is millions of square miles of ice and snow. Nobody gives you orders. But you are forced to stalk a small ice hole for hours, sometimes days, waiting for a seal to surface. The calories you burn just staying warm and moving constantly threaten to outweigh the calories you consume. Survival hijacks your entire mind and all your time. Or look at the Arctic tern. Every year, they fly over 40,000 miles from the North Pole to the South Pole and back. They fly through massive storms, facing exhaustion, starvation, and dozens of predators. Do they fly because they love the freedom of the open sky? Not at all. They fly because their biology holds a gun to their head and orders, fly or die. They don't have a choice. They can't decide to stay up north this year to take a break. Real freedom requires the power to choose. And in this case, the animal has absolutely no choice. Their freedom was dictated by nature before they were even born. Now, Let's talk about the social aspect. Many people think escaping human society means escaping oppression. But ironically, countless animals exist within social structures so strict and dictatorial they would suffocate you. Imagine you're a wolf born into a large pack. If you aren't the alpha, your life is a series of submissions. You have to step aside for the best food. You have to lower your head and tuck your tail when a stronger wolf walks by. If you step out of line, or dare to challenge the status quo, the alpha will growl, punish you, or even tear you to pieces and banish you from the territory. Stanford neurobiologist Dr. Robert Sapolsky spent decades studying baboon troops in the Serengeti. He found that the baboons at the bottom of the social hierarchy had skyrocketing levels of the stress hormone cortisol. They suffered from measurable physiological damage and lived in a state of chronic anxiety because they were constantly bullied by dominant males. No tax receipts, no mortgages, but they are still grinding themselves down over status and rank in ways that show up in their blood work. Interestingly, when anthropologists study early human hunter-gatherer tribes, they find the exact opposite. Our ancestors actively worked to maintain absolute equality. They practically banned any individual from giving orders to others. The punishment for wanting to be a dictator was mockery, ridicule, and ultimately, exile from the tribe. We used to live a life without superiors. We rejected the brutal hierarchy of the baboon troop. But thousands of years later, with the invention of agriculture and civilization, modern humans accidentally rebuilt that exact same system. We created new baboon troops. But instead of cliffs, we call them offices, bosses, and corporate ladders. We locked ourselves in a new system of our own making. But the most core difference between our freedom and theirs lies inside your skull. Animals mostly run on software pre-programmed by millions of years of evolution. A whale swims to warm waters. A bear finds a cave to hibernate. They don't need to overthink it or hold a committee meeting. It's instinct. They don't sit up at night, look at the stars, and worry that they are losing their freedom. They don't regret swimming the wrong way yesterday. They simply live in the absolute present. An animal reacts to immediate fear when a predator appears. And when the danger passes, the fear passes completely. Humans, on the other hand, possess a gift that is also a brutal curse, the prefrontal cortex. This is the brain's time machine, allowing you to vividly remember the past and simulate thousands of future scenarios. Because of this, humans are the only creatures capable of resisting their own instincts. You can choose forgiveness over revenge. You can choose to starve to give your food to someone else. The ability to rebel against biological programming is an ultimate kind of freedom that no other animal on Earth shares. But what is the price of this time machine? Existential dread. You can freely choose your career, where you live, and who you love. But because you have so many choices, you are haunted by the fear of choosing wrong. Animals have no concept of death until it actually happens. We lie in bed at 2 a.m., stressing over an unpaid debt, fearing a disease we don't even have, and rehearsing arguments in our heads that will never actually happen. Humans constantly trap themselves in a spiral of thoughts about hypothetical futures that aren't even real. It's an invisible, cruel chain forged entirely by our own brains. Try picturing 2 days side by side. Your day, and a wild animal's day. You wake up to a blaring alarm clock you set because someone else decided what time your day begins. You rush through breakfast, run out the door, and get stuck in gridlocked traffic breathing exhaust fumes. You sit in a room for 8 hours. Doing things someone else decided is worth your time, in exchange for numbers in a bank account. Then, you use those numbers to pay for a house you mostly just use to sleep in, and buy things to fill the void. You are perpetually running a race nobody officially announced, terrified of falling behind. On the flip side, a tiger sleeps in until noon. Nobody forces it to wake up. It stretches, sharpens its claws, and goes hunting. It uses every muscle, all its focus, and raw agility to wrestle its prey. If the hunt is successful, it gorges itself and falls into a deep sleep. But if the hunt fails, it will carry an empty stomach into the bone-chilling cold of the night, keeping one eye open to watch out for other predators. Its life doesn't have trivial annoyances, but it is a pendulum swinging between absolute satiation and the brink of death. You and the tiger are both exhausted. Just 2 different types of exhaustion, serving 2 different systems. So what happens when humans, the masters of civilization, decide to intervene in the freedom of animals? We strip them of it in the most brutal way imaginable. We build zoos and call it conservation. We take creatures that evolved over millions of years to roam and migrate across entire continents, and we lock them in concrete enclosures. Scientists have documented a psychological breakdown in captive animals called zoochosis, repetitive compulsive behaviors with no function. Polar bears pacing the exact same path for hours. Elephants swaying their bodies ceaselessly. Primates ripping out their own fur. It is the psychological collapse of minds that simply cannot survive confinement. The freest creatures on Earth, destroyed by a cage. And we are the ones who built the cage to visit on weekends and take photographs. We rule this planet, but it seems we don't even know how to master our own freedom. The deeper we analyze it, the blurrier the line between human and beast becomes. Do you think animals don't have emotions? Scientists have proven that rats will abandon a delicious treat to save a fellow rat trapped in a tube. Elephants grieve. They caress and stand guard over the body of a fallen herd member for days. Sparrows learn from each other to adapt to their environment. They have affection, memory, and a rich inner world. But no matter how smart they are, the greatest difference always remains. Only humans are obsessed with the concept of freedom. An animal never looks up at the infinite void of the night sky and asks, "Why am I here? Am I living a meaningful life?" They just exist. We are the ones torn apart by consciousness. The 18th century French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau spent years arguing that humans traded natural liberty for civil liberty. We gave up the right to just exist, in exchange for the protection of laws and society. Animals never signed that contract. They kept the original deal. In modern society, we have locked ourselves inside comfortable glass cages. We don't worry about being mauled by a leopard on our morning commute, and the room temperature is always perfect. But in return, our freedom is chained to paper money, obligations, and the judgment of others. You see, freedom was never just an endless, boundaryless adventure. Freedom is also a burden of responsibility and awareness. In the eyes of an animal, if they could understand, you are probably an anxious giant, wielding fire and technology, but always carrying a worried dread. And in your eyes, they are serene beings, unburdened by tomorrow, yet constantly stalked by death and puppeteered by instinct. A dog sleeping in a warm patch of sunlight on your floor didn't choose peace. It is simply experiencing peace, because the option of dread simply isn't available to it. It doesn't know if it's in a home or a cage. And perhaps that is the entire point. Ultimately, freedom isn't about being able to do whatever you want without restriction. It lies in your capacity to be aware of your own existence, to understand the limits surrounding you, and to still be able to make a choice. Tonight, when darkness falls, when the sounds of the city finally fade and everything goes quiet, try looking up at the night sky where million-year-old stars are still shining, and ask yourself one thing. Who among us humans with our 10,000 invisible anxieties, or animals in their ruthless fight for survival, is actually having dreams about freedom before you go? If you enjoyed exploring the parts of human history they didn't teach you in school, hit subscribe to Curion. We're building a community of curious minds, and we'd love to have you. Drop a comment below on who you think is truly freer, and what mystery we should uncover next. See you in the next one.